Welcome, everyone, to another morning, another day of our fall summit. This is Maritza Moreno, one who catches lightning with the path of Ish. It is green all over for another day, zero waste in the elemental body. And I'm really, really excited to have with me Maritza Moreno. It sounds like you're a prize fighter. In the right corner.
It reminds me of that guy, the boxing guy, like the announcer when you come in.
Moreno. You got a prize fighter today. Well, you are a prize fighter. You're a powerful, powerful warrior out there of prayer who works with the earth and grid lines and a lot of things. And so let's just dive right in. So Maritza, why don't you just give us a little background to yourself, and we'll go from there.
Wow, that's a loaded question right there too. So, I've gone by many names on this journey, and I'm just one that brings forward people's medicine by doing that within myself too. I work with my own medicine, the medicine of my ancestors, the medicine that comes through from the universe, what I call our soul signature. I am a sun dancer, and I, just walk this path every day. I work with people all over the world and do energy healing and intuitive life coaching and bridge those worlds of spirit and of being human and learning to have that human experience and expanding that human experience. So that's just, a little bit.
I know. I've started to call myself a rock star. And people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm connecting, the etheric, galactic with like Earth. I'm a rock star.
That's true.
Yeah, right? Maybe we should all just be rock stars. I'm going to have a rock star school, but that's another thing. So let's talk about sun dancer. When you say I'm a sun dancer, for all those people who don't know what a sun dancer is, can you kind of explain to us what that is and what that path is?
So when we sun dance, for me, I've sun danced 3 years already, and sun dance is a 4-year commitment when you commit to dancing. Sundance is a Lakota ceremony. It's and about 5 years ago, I was introduced to a Karuk tribe, and they had a Sundance, and I went for the first time. And I remember being at the tree, and in the Sundance, there's an arbor, right? And so it's a very sacred ceremony. So not everyone, it's not where there's not a lot of people. There's those that are a part of the ceremony, because the ceremony is about a week. And so I remember being there and being at the tree and being in the arbor and supporting the dancers that were in the arbor. And I knew like I was going to dance. And 2 years later, there I was at the tree. And when you're sun dancing, you're going 4 days, no food or water. Unless you're on your moon, then you're not in the arbor. But, the reason for sun dance is to suffer for the people. You are suffering in the sense of bringing balance to the world and to your own life. And some people will take the prayers of, their family members, if a family member's sick or if they're going through a hard time. And it's an incredible experience. It's one that's very hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. You never know what it's like to have no water until you actually do it. And in those 4 days, you're going through your different parts of your journey. And as a sun dancer, no one can touch you, look at you. You're in the arbor itself, and there's prayer sticks around you, and there's supporters around you, and then there's the drummers. And you go in for 7 rounds a day. And when you go in for the rounds and you're dancing, you're just looking at the tree. You're just praying and looking at the tree. You can't look at anything else. You can't go looking around. They'll tell you continue to look at the tree, because on the tree is your prayers. So it keeps you focused. And when you're dancing, things will start to distract you. You'll start to, like, the sun will go in your face, or you start to get hot, and you'll start thinking about something else and wanting to run. There's times I wanted to run out of the arbor. but it was going back into being focused on that tree and focused on the prayers that I took with me in that. And every time I've danced, something incredible has happened. My life has changed, but my life has, torn apart from that too. But it was everything that I created my life on an illusion, that being on that path brought it all down. It definitely took me down to nothing so I can rebuild myself. And it's one of the most life-changing things that I've done. And I've been called to. Not everyone's called to dance, and it's not for everybody. But when it's your medicine, that tree will tell you.
I still have not Sundance, but I have done Vision Quest, so I understand the no food, no water.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually day 2, it's like, you're like, what am I doing? You start thinking about the water and you obsess over it. But it makes you realize how we do that in real life. My 3rd year, I didn't get to go into the arbor till day 3, so I was no food or water for 2 days, and I didn't suffer that year. I didn't suffer last year. But my first 2 years, it was like an obsession about the water, because you're starving your beliefs and you're starving yourself in that sense. And the water becomes that distraction and that obsession. Yeah, it was definitely when you get out of there, food and water just everything tastes so good.
A huge appreciation. I remember I had tacos before I went up on the mountain, and tacos when I came off. Water.
I can't remember what I had.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about water now. I know with the water protectors, I don't know if you went to the Dakotas to support, but I know that you are active in trying to talk about resources. You travel to heal the land, and I believe you do this
Mm-hmm.
as well. So could you kind of tell us about this journey, this medicine that you have to heal the land?
So I didn't go to the Dakotas. I wanted to at the time, but I was told to kind of stay where I was at. And part of my medicine is to go to different places and to bring healing and to bring balance to those places. So I will be taken to the places that, most people don't want to go to or don't think about going, because a lot of times people will go to sacred sites. But those sacred sites have so much medicine already. And the land that needs help are places that most people don't want to go to. Like, no one thinks about going to LA and doing healing there. But I had gone to a class and the land was dead. I could not hear the songs. When I'm up, I live by Mount Shasta. And when I'm home, I hear the land. It talks. I hear the medicine. I hear the animals. I hear the songs coming from there. I hear, the different, like the light. I hear the colors. Everything is alive. When I went down to LA, I was like, what happened here? It was a shock for me, because I had become so attuned to what it felt like to be connected to the land. And so even when I have gone to the Bay Area, there's different spots where there's so much karma in one area that it needs help. And so I work on the grid lines and I work on the grids of the planet. And so when I'm taking places, that's where I'm working on. I'm working on the grids. I'm working on bringing life back to the land, bringing the ancestors back that are there, and clearing the spirits that are stuck and helping them go home. Because there's a lot of spirits that are stuck in this dimension and don't know how to get home. So I bring the songs, I bring my drum. Even when I go to Disneyland, I did that. A funny story is I was waiting in line for a ride, right? And I was sitting there and I just heard start working. And so I was, and 3 of the rides around me broke down. And I know, like, Disneyland's infamous for rides breaking down, right? We all know this, the ones, you know, people that have gone. And I was like, oh, whoops. Then I just like move out of the line. That happens. But I'm taking places where either there's a lot of people, the land needs help, and I just bring that compassion and that love through, you know, spirit works through me in that way. I am just a vessel. You know, the same thing with Sundance. When I Sundance, you become a vessel, you become a vessel of prayer. So I take those prayers with me. And I, you know, sit with the land, and I do a lot of just energy. I don't leave anything around. A lot of people will leave grids, but I just work on the energetics of the land. So that's that.
We have someone else this week who talks about grid lines, and it's just powerful work to be able to work like that. Now, I know you and I have had discussions that you do despachos and that you've been initiated into the Quero tradition. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So about, it's been like 4 or 5 years. I was initiated into the 9 rites of the Muna Key, and I was, you know, my teacher, who was also a helper at Sundance, and I met him before that. He was teaching this class, so I started to do that, and it was the Path of the Luminous Warrior, and it was a powerful, powerful class. It was a year-long class. And in that time, I was initiated into the Caro and into those teachings. And I don't talk about it a lot about those teachings, because it's so sacred for me. But when I work with the despachos, and I work with you know, we have, you know, the Apus, right? For me, it's, you know, the mountain I go to is Mount Shasta, because when I was born, that's the closest mountain to me. I was born in Chico. So I go up and I give an offering to the Apus, and then I give an offering to Mother Earth. And there's 2 different ways that you do the despachos for that. And when I give the offering, you know, to the earth, is giving her thanks and sending those prayers that I have as well for myself, and as well as when I do that for the mountains. And right now, there's not a lot of people giving those offerings. And when I was going on that path, we were given this. We were building our medicine bundle, and we were building that luminous field within ourselves and that connection within ourselves. And it was a really beautiful journey, because it taught me my connection to myself is also the connection that I have to the earth. When I have ceremony with myself, I learn to have ceremony with the earth. I learned to appreciate her and love her in a very different way. And I've been sitting with a lot of this for a really long time. So I'm glad I get to share this now, because it's been such a sacred journey when I was going through that time. And we need to have ceremony within ourselves, but we also need to have ceremony with the earth. We need to build that connection. And that's what the despachos do. They give thanks, but you build the connection to the earth. You start to, when you do that, you start to hear the earth in a very different way. She starts to speak to you. And the Apus offer the protection as well, and the blessings that you need in your life. My first offering to the mountain, when I did that to the Apus, I got sick. I put the despacho in the ground, and like that week I was just sick. Like, it was my birthday. And I remember feeling this like energy moving through my body. And I was shaking, and I was shaking for like 3 days. And it was a really powerful offering to do that. I remember a lot of things unveiled themselves after that time. And so we also have to be mindful about what we ask for. Sometimes we just ask for things and then we think, oh, that's not going to happen, right? And so after I gave that offering, I remember a lot of things changed for me. But it broke me down. And that's what they'll do too. They'll break those barriers down, so you will start to have the connection to the earth that is is already there. It's building on that.
Now, so powerful, you know, this is why we're here. We're talking, you know, the whole week is about really having that discussion about our connection to earth. You know, it's not just about zero waste and recycling. You know, if we're doing it out of action instead of out of intention, we're just creating solving a problem with the same energy that created it. So really kind of linking ourselves to the fact that we are elemental bodies, just like Mother Earth is. It means that we walk a different path, and that path is
Right.
connectedness. Now, I love the Quero Indians. You know, I think they're amazing, and I love that their shamans get initiated by lightning, since I am one who catches. So, can you explain to people who might not know what apus are, and exactly, can we just dig into a little bit of what usually a despacho has, so people can kind of understand? And thank you again for sharing.
So the apus are like the spirits of the mountain. For me, they're like the ancestors, and everybody has a little bit different connection to what that is and how that's taught to them. And so they offer that protection. They are those keepers of that mountain, and they sit with that mountain and the spirits of the mountain. And the despacho, the way that I was taught by my teacher at the time was that, you know, you put a shell in the middle and you put like a cross, and I think we did it with like sweetgrass, and you give it different offerings like sugar and cookies and red candies and flat, and I you know, I mix this up all the time, but I believe for Mother Earth, you do the red roses or the red flowers, and some people do carnations. And you do the different like bundles of flowers that have like the bay leaf, and then you put the flowers there, and I'm totally blanking on what that is called right now. But there's 12, and you're putting in prayers with it. You put in your intention, and so you can put in pictures as well. You can put in something that means something to you, you know. You can put in hair. I put in different objects in mine, along with like the chocolate and the sugar and the flour, and like I think we did cotton balls, you know, for our wishes, and you put some wine in there as well. And the reason we put like chocolate is because Mother Earth likes sugar and chocolate. She loves chocolate. And I think that's why I love chocolate, so I eat it for her. At least that's my excuse. But she loves chocolate. And Mother Earth, she loves to take into her belly that really, you know, that hucha, which is like the negative energy that we carry. And so anytime, you know, there's that, you give that to the earth, and she eats that, right? She eats all that negativity. And so put that in that bundle, and you, if you have your medicine bundle, you can open it up, and before you do that, you give like an offering to the directions, and you have your rattle. And so once you're done with the bundle, and you have it as is, you know, you say your prayer, and you close it up, and you tie it up, and you find a spot where, you know, no animals are going to get to, and you bury it. But I always ask permission of the land where I can bury it, and they'll tell me. And so when you do the one for Mother Earth, you buried it in the earth. And when you do the ones for the mountain, wherever you were born, whatever mountain is closest to you, you find a spot on the mountain, and you buried it in there. And you leave it there, and it's this powerful, powerful intention, and it brings balance and brings that Aini to the earth that we need. And the mountains are asking for that right now, and so is Mother Earth. The despachos are beautiful offerings, and there's different ways to do offerings too. So
Yeah, I've been feeling a call to do despachos myself, and I just walked a land or property that that's nearby that I would love to do something with. But before I even went to see it, like I meditated and I was like, what does this land need? Because I felt there was a block to it, and so I just followed what Spirit told me. And so I took cornmeal and I took roses, dried roses, and a big jar of it, And it's funny because I was walking behind my wife, who was with the realtor, So I'm like in the back, trying to do it, but the land felt rejected. The land felt rejected. Here I am, this beautiful land that people have taken time and tons of money to put in, but no one wants me. And so I completely, understand if we can take that time, it's almost, when you're talking about these ceremonies, these connections to Mother Earth, I mean, they take time, it's a relationship, and it takes more of a relationship to connect with Mother Earth than just being like, oh, this is a recycle, let's throw it in the recycling bin, right? To have that kind of personality and build that. So you do a lot of things with Mother Earth, and so you are an Earth Mama, and I love that about you. But you are also in kind of the tech world and kind of like Star Wars world and Disney World, and you've been sharing with me how you've been online as well and how it's been healing you, but how specifically one day you went in and worked on your avatar and created like fairy energy for healing. So worked on the land in the game that you're in, if that's the correct word. I'm sorry, I'm horrible at online things. So that's possible, right? That is possible to still bring intention and direction into the online world. So can you kind of tell us how you've been using this to heal and create energy and heal the land online as well in these virtual worlds?
So I am a nerdy gamer sometimes, and I was introduced into Second Life, which you make your avatar, and I was like, what is this? Like, I was so like, this is weird. Why do people do this? And so I had total judgment over it. But the first time I was on Second Life, I made my avatar, and I left after a few days for a year, and then I was called back to it because my friend was making a sim. So it's like The Sims, right? And we call it a game, but it's really not a game. It's like social media on crack, I think. And because I've met so many people, it's just like Facebook, but you have avatars, but there's feelings, people date on there, like you name it. And so yeah, I made my avatar, and I realized working with my avatar that all my insecurities were still there. Everything that I was been working through is still there. So I was like, I want to make her butt big. I want her to look like this. And I'm like sitting there like, I'm like, wow, like all my body issues are still there, like everything. And so being on that, and I don't want to call it a game because it's not a game, but being on that, in that space has really taught me a lot about myself, and it's allowed me to heal the things that were inside of me that all of a sudden were being projected through my avatar and people that I was meeting from other places, because there's people from all over the world. And one day I dressed up as a fairy, and I made my fairy, like I have a fairy garden in front of my house, right? Like I have this like house on the beach in SL, and we have a sim that's for spirituality, and we made a tree house with the chants, and I have singing bowls, and people can go there, and we've had actually someone teach a hypnosis class, so people can teach through SL. And but I have my fairy garden outside, and the fairies were telling me what to do here, and that energy was there. And so people, once I put my fairy garden in SL, people were going there, so people were TPing and finding it from other places, and I'm like, who's this, like, because you can do that. And so people were going to the garden and telling me how beautiful it was, and the fairies were calling them in there, and it's been a way for people to get healing that normally I can't get to. And so it's been amazing to really witness that, and to find that even within within that virtual reality world. There's a sim where there's monks from an that have a Buddhist sim on there, and they take their sim very seriously. They tell you have to come dressed appropriately because it's SL. People most of the time are half naked, and they're like, you can't be naked, you have to dress appropriately when you enter the temple. And they're like, this is not a game for us, this is virtual reality. And so as you would be in real life, they expect you to do that in Second Life on their sim, because every sim is different on what people can do. And so for that sim, that was their rules. And I went into the temple and I meditated. I had my avatar there, but I meditated too with the mantra sounds. And they actually have monks and Buddhist priests that teach there. And so people from all over the world can find those teachings. So it's just another way to really connect and have spirit connect through people and through those mediums, from people from all walks of life. It's been pretty incredible to be on there and to experience that and to really share medicine in a really different way. That I was like, this is weird, but it's actually become quite normal and quite exciting.
Do you plan to do more of your classes there, since you said people can teach there?
It depends. If the sim stays open, then yes, I do plan to teach a class, and I might teach a fairy class like in my garden or something. There is a couple sims that have classes and people teach, and so I was going to do a past life regression class and possibly a fairy class. So we'll see how that goes.
That's exciting. You know, that's something that I would have never imagined, right? A place. I should probably check it out. So we've talked about virtual reality, and we've talked about reality and mountaintops and things like that, and offerings to Mother Earth, and started to kind of talk a little bit about the connection that we have to her. But when you heard the topic zero waste and the elemental body, what was it that had attracted you to it, the subject? What for you is zero waste in your interpretation?
For me, it was really about connecting to the earth. I feel like and connecting to ourselves, when we do that, we present ourselves in a very different way, and we end up being more open to taking care of ourselves, but taking care of the earth herself. So you can feel, when you take care of your needs, you will take care of the needs around you. So when I started to become more aware of myself, like I started to take care of the earth a lot better. I started to recycle more and be more conscious about the foods that I ate, about the plastic I was using, and how I was recycling, and how I was doing certain things. And people will not put one and one together all the time. But if you think about it, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to want to take care of anything else around you. And so for me, self care is the conscious connection to really having a healthier life, but also bringing that healthier lifestyle, from your environment, and taking care of your environment, and taking care of Mother Earth and that nourishment that she gives you. When you love yourself, you will accept that love that she has for you as a mother. And a lot of times people that have a disconnect with that nourishment, nurturing energy, mother energy, will be disconnected from her and will not hear what the earth needs. And we're really seeing that right now on this planet, right? We're seeing people ignoring the needs of the earth and how she takes care of us. And so for me, that's what I really thought about when, when I saw that. I really saw like a mother taking care of her children, and children waking up to how she really loves them.
You know, one of the things that is amazing that has been showing up day by day is this conversation about love. When I put this all together, there was this intellectual idea of what was going on, but what has showed up every day is love, and that's what I'm really excited about, talking about love, love the planet, love of yourself, radical self-love, those steps that you have to take to have good boundaries, to create good
Yes.
relationships. You know, your relationship with yourself, you know, first, and how healing yourself and taking that time to heal yourself is really healing, you know, heals the planet, and it allows you then to connect with her on a different level. So again, you're not just doing, you know, you're not just an action, you're not just an action figure, but you become a human being, you know, to a certain degree. So that's amazing. Speaking of radical self-love, um, I know you're always on a journey towards that. um, are there some is there some insight that you can give to people about how to love themselves in a radical way?
Oh God. Learning to love ourselves is such a messy journey. At least mine was like, oh, we're always on that journey of loving ourselves, right? And one of the biggest things that I did for myself that was life changing was following my fears. Everything that I was afraid of, I did. Not everything. I'm lying about that. Most of what I was afraid of, I did, right? Because I needed to shift the energy. And loving ourselves is giving ourselves that opportunity, but also learning to have a relationship with ourselves. My relationship with myself for a long time was what everybody else wanted for me. And at one point I looked at myself and was like, who am I? Like, none of this is what I want. And I just had to destroy all of that and give myself the opportunity to create. And that was a huge life changer. I went from being homeless to being able to take care of myself, having my car, having, you know, my home, and creating that beauty that I needed in there. And it was all because I had to give up what wasn't for me. I had to show up for myself. Showing up for yourself is loving yourself. And sometimes it doesn't feel good. It's not, we have this, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, self-love journey is like very magical. Well, there's some of the magic that really can be hard. It is magical, but it's not easy. It is like birthing. It is birthing yourself and birthing those ideas and those parts of yourself. So self-love has been for me a very painful process sometimes of letting go what I thought my life would be like, letting go of people in my life, learning about boundaries, letting go of people, of communities that no longer fit my intentions or were really not to my sovereignty. And that was the biggest lesson for myself, and that I'm still learning, you know, till the day I die. You know, I will be on that journey of self-love and just showing up for myself. And that changes all the time. I am this now, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be this tomorrow. And a lot of times we want to stay stuck to a certain image, but that image morphs itself and it recreates itself and it expands itself, and and it's ever changing and ever growing, and that's the beauty of that. That is the beauty of self-love, is having compassion for that person that you are in the moment, and that person that you're expanding to be and growing into. And so, you know, for me, it's been the best thing that I did for myself was to show up for myself.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's it's a never ending journey. You know? And
It is a never-ending journey.
like, I thought we were done. I thought this was done. Like, let's, you know, but no, it is. It's good, and it's good to meet new people along the way, and new people that support you, and all of that. But it is a journey, and so a lot of people are afraid of taking that journey. People, I feel these days, it's so easy to become overwhelmed by everything happening.
Yes.
What are some um, tips that you can give to people to keep them active, you know, to keep them, you know, to not fall into despair? You know, I mean, I know you've been going through fire season where you live, and that's really
Yeah.
challenging, you know. You've been homeless before and facing the fact that that might happen again. How have
Yeah.
you dealt with being in the face of disaster and an earth disaster, right? You know, you do healing and earth on the planet. I'm sure it's easy to be like, what the hell? I gave you chocolate. Why are you burning my house down? You know?
I know. Yeah, right now I'm at my parents' house, and I've been here. I've been gone most of the summer, haven't been home, and so I evacuated myself because the smoke was so bad. But we were officially evacuated this last week with this new fire, and so, um, you know, allowing yourself the times to break down is really important. Knowing that sometimes you're going to be frustrated, sometimes you're going to be depressed, and sometimes you're going to have anger, and having the compassion towards that. We all have to have compassion during that time. Patience, consistency. Consistency is key. If you're not consistent with what you are doing, things will not change. It will just be a different mask. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm changing. I'm like, that's just a different mask. So you have to be consistent. And that's the one thing I tell people: go towards the thing that makes you uncomfortable and that you're fearful of doing. You know, someone will tell me, I used to think like, oh, I have a bad feeling about that. Something bad's going to happen. And I realized that was my fear and I needed to walk towards that. It was the most uncomfortable thing, was things I didn't want to do, was things that felt horrible. And in that, doing that, I discreated that belief and I freed myself. So give yourself the chance to free yourself. A lot of times the things that I walked to felt that were feeling good, I'm like, oh, this feels good. Something good's going to happen. And the next thing I know, everything went to poop. And I'm like, what is this? And I realized that's the ego going, that's familiar. We're going that direction because I know how to get out of that. But I realized that it was happening over and over again. And the things that I was fearful of, it was the places I needed to go, the places where I wanted to run. You know, right before my first time Sundance, you know, I wanted to run. I was like, maybe if I have the flu or I have massive diarrhea, like well, something like that will happen to me, Ray, and I'll get out of this. I won't have to do this. Like I just was like, oh my God. But I had to stick through it. Had to. And so it's understanding that sometimes our intuition is our fear that we're really listening to in our intuition. So learning that difference and just continuously showing up for yourself. There's not a magical pill that's going to make everything better. It's you taking the action in your life. And you learning how to use the tools. Yes, we can use angels and fairies and amazing energy, but there's a way to use it in your benefit. It's not there to do the work for you. It's there to support you. These are all allies. Mother Earth is an ally. The Apus are allies, right? Our spirit animals are allies. Our guides are allies. And how are you using that? Because they're not going to sit there and tell you to go left and right all the time. And are you listening? Are you truly listening? So those are some things that I could talk about this for hours.
And that's what I love. I love conversations with you because they do go on for hours, and it's such a beautiful space that you've held for me in our conversations, and I learn from you every time that we do talk. We are kind of getting to that end of our 45 minutes and everything like that we're on every morning, and so one of the things that I know that you want to do is you want to do an activation. And before that, the way that I kind of see things is, there's a lot of activists out there, social activists on the front line, but to truly be able to do that work with intentionality and with self-love and good boundaries, you have to kind of activate yourself. And so, Maritza,
Right.
to lead us through an activation to help us.
My drum's actually calling me. Okay. So is it okay if I sing a song?
Yes, I would love that.
So I'm gonna sing a Sundance song. I hope I know the words correctly. I don't know all the words correctly. Um, but, in coming into this new season, the fall is that bear medicine, right? Winter is bear medicine, but we're going into that time of being within ourselves and in our heart. So we're going to do an activation of the heart through the songs, and the ancestors will come through. Your ancestors will come through. So listen, take time to listen. Don't listen to the mind. Listen here in your heart space. So we'll do that. And we're just going to give thank you to these beautiful summer months that we've had. I give thank you to this new season and this new time to be within ourselves. Wanka tonka, tonka Shayla. Bila maya yellow hey, chanupa wakacha mayang kuelo hey, bila maya yellow hey, wicho sani wa mayang kuelo bila maya Bila maya yellow chanupa wakacha mayang kuelo bila maya yellow wicho sani wa mayang kuelo bila maya Bila maya yellow wanka tonka tonka Shayla. Bila maya yellow chanupa wakacha mayang kuelo bila maya yellow wicho sani wa mayang kuelo bila maya bila maya yellow chanupa wakacha mayang kuelo bila maya yellow wicho sani wa mayang kuelo bila maya bila maya yellow Oh, Matakias.
Matakias. I think you blew out the internet
That's
at one point there.
It happens.
That was powerful. I'm like, if I had hairs on my skin, they'd be standing up right now. It's so chilly. Wow, that was so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for spending time with us this morning and sharing your journey. And I know you will have an offer after this and also an upgrade for people to maybe experience more of your drumming and your amazing singing. So thank you. Any last things that you want to say or plugs, whatever you want to do?
The next couple months, take time to really recreate and be in your heart and be on that stillness. We're going through a very major expansion on this planet at this time. And we are always saying that, but we're going into a very different phase and different space. So anything that you're afraid of, do. Anything that you have been putting on the side, stop doing that and do it and move forward in your life. Give yourself that chance to show up and to take those risks, because there really isn't failure. We all just learn from those failures, right? And so that's what's coming in from the ancestors on that end. is showing up and being that warrior that you are, and that each and every one of you carry within you. And that's different. That's that medicine. Let your medicine shine, let your medicine out. And that's what I'll be, teaching in the next couple months too. I'll be teaching a spirit animal class again, which was amazing, learning how to work with your allies. And that's what I'll be having some activations in the offerings that I'll be doing here. So I'm very excited for that. But take this time to live life and to show up.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Maritza. And I'll see you on the other side, or maybe in, what's this thing, the second life. Maybe I'll see you in second life. Not just this life, but maybe in second life. You never know. But thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you. Bye.